Hey guys, it's me, Ellie, aka Looks from the Crypt. It feels kind of strange just because I haven't uploaded in 6 months or whatever, but who cares? Here I am, and I'm here today to talk about not my top movies of 2024, but my favorite discoveries of 2024. So films that I watched for the first time that didn't come out in 2024, they could have came out, any other year, that I just now watch for the first time and have instantly become in love with. So if that sounds like fun, grab a snack, grab a drink, and keep on watching. But don't worry, I do intend on doing a whole 2024 ranked. There's just a couple movies I want to watch first that I don't feel like renting that I know are coming to streaming. And for example, one of those films that immediately comes to mind is Red Rooms. Everybody's been raving about Red Rooms, so knowing that's coming to Shudder, I think this week, the week that I'm filming this video, makes me want to wait and just watch it, since the video is going to be late anyways. So why not wait till I get to watch everything that I wanted to that came out this year. So we're starting out with my number 10 spot being Muan or Celluloid Nightmares, which I give a 4 out of 5. I put this film in my number 10 spot for the very reason I don't feel like I could recommend this film widely by any means. And this even goes for the folks who this is kind of for. So by that I mean the found footage fans, the mockumentary fans, the extreme fans. I still don't really think I could be yeah, you'll love this, or this is a must watch, for the very reason is that it is pretty divisive because its ending does some weirdo wacko shit, but that's what really made it for me, right? Because I feel like this ending makes this film really unique and memorable, whereas otherwise, not to discredit, what happens in the rest of the film, I can't really guarantee that this film would stand out. I could see it just being another kind of run-of-the-mill, fetish, mockumentary type film otherwise. This film follows a female reporter who is kind of researching and trying to report on the underground adult video scene in Japan. We get a lot of period menstrual play type films being showcased here, which I would say they get shown in a very hilariously humorous, over the top type fashion. I think that's its intention, because it does go above and beyond. We see blood absolutely just squirting out of places and stuff like that. I think the film that she might be documenting is called something like Menstrual Mania, and I feel a lot of the the producers and things like that really fit the bill of this sleazy type porn guy producer, which really fits the vibe and tone. And the reason why she's doing this research is because recently an adult video star actress has gone missing, and it's rumored that there is a snuff film that she's featured in that captures her murder. And before you know it, this reporter gets in way over her head in this taboo world. And with that being said, something I really loved about this film is that the mockumentary aspect is entirely authentic and convincing, which is something I love and something that I kind of need to be able to immerse myself into these types of films, right? It really did feel like I was watching an extreme taboo episode of Dateline. And I would say the thing that's kind of weird and conflicting about this film is that the extreme snuff film type sequences didn't really evoke as much of a reaction from me as the whole fetish part. I don't know what it is. That's what kind of got that visceral reaction out of me, as opposed to the extreme true torture horror elements, which this film is primarily known for. Maybe it just got overly hyped up for me before I went in, because I am watching this for the first time now, when this is a film I've been hearing about for years. And now my number 9 spot, it's going to Fritz the Cat, which I gave a 4 out of 5. And I'm honestly kind of just surprised I hadn't watched this movie yet, just because it is kind of known for its somewhat raunchy, horny, adult animation thing, which is something I tend to like. But this movie is really surprising to me, because I've always seen Fritz the Cat being summarized as like the horny cat movie, which, you know, it is that. However, is also so much more than that. And it just speaks volumes about like, you know, race, class, like socioeconomic status, like performative allyship, privilege, etc. And it just says a lot about the, like, you know, the socio-political climate of like the 60s and 70s at the time. And with that being said, although it is focused around that, it's not something that's become irrelevant. Like, it still is very true when speaking upon these points as to where, you know, we were in the 60s and 70s and where we are today. However, my main critique here is that it does have this really strong and like hilarious messaging about these things that are like kind of like beyond true at times. And, you know, I think that just the whole performative allyship thing was something that really got me going. But a lot of this messaging, I feel like, gets entirely like muddled by the like crude and like horny like sexual animations that are occurring basically at all times throughout this film. However, though, you know, I still do recommend at the end of the day. I had a blast with this one. Landing in my 8th spot is going to a film that actually just got like a release this year, and that is Way Bad Stone. It got released through, I think, it's either Sans Core or Bleeding Skull, one of the Vinegar Syndrome sublabels. This is a SOV, like, wild-ass film. Like, it's the SOV Dungeons & Dragons. Way Bad Stone follows a group of, like, these, like, medieval adventurers. They steal an enchanted stone, which pisses off this wizard. Therefore, this wizard summons all of the baddies he has in his roster to go get it back for him. This is like, okay, the thing about Way Bad Stone is like, I am an SOV lover, but the thing I love more than SOV though is a truly like incredibly like ambitious SOV film, and that's exactly what Way Bad Stone is. So I just love a really like big ambitious SOV film. And like other films that come to mind, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, is like Shattered Dead or like The Good Book and stuff like that. Way Bad Stone fits in that category of making a story that's bigger than what is realistically able to be accomplished, but we're putting the best fucking effort we have to make that happen. And I just really love that. And, you know, that's just one of those moments where it's like, this is like a movie really made with like care and love and passion, and that means more than like an actual production to me a lot of the time. Way Bad Stone is just a film that's like way bigger than itself. It has ideas way bigger than what is like even remotely possible to be delivered. And we feature like, you know, like a lot of like Ren Fair type like costumes mixed in with like, you know, kills, and a lot of like, you know, sleazy like sexy bitches type stuff that makes it really fun. And like, it's just like the small things, like slowly you do end up getting immersed in this world of, you know, low budget Ren Fair medieval shit. But then there's just like some things that take you out of it, but like I don't think it's like a bad thing when you get taken out of it, because it's just kind of hilarious. For example, you see like we're in like the forest of Florida, so there's palm trees while trying to do this like sword and sandals like type genre, which is just like beyond funny. So they really did try to make a story. They really did do all that they could with like, you know, the costumes, the props. We even do have some like pretty sick effects that come up at the end. If you're like an SOV lover and want to see like how far somebody can go just on passion and like a love for the craft, I definitely recommend Way Bad Stone. It's so much fun. Next film I have here is a film I'm just surprised I hadn't watched sooner, for the very reason I've put this film on the TV a lot, if that makes sense. Like, it's a film that I've put on and I've had the intentions of watching, but I've like fallen asleep, gotten distracted, one thing or another. I've never actually been able to sit down and watch it, but I am so glad I did. And my number 7 spot is going to I Drink Your Blood, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5. And this film follows a group of like satanic hippies, which appears to be a common issue in this rural town that they're, you know, stopping through, because the townspeople act like this is like a problem they deal with like on the regular. They just absolutely hate satanic hippies that love LSD coming through. They're kind of, you know, causing trouble and stuff like that. And it really triggers this 10-year-old who makes the very big choice to infect them with rabies via injecting their like food with infected blood, which naturally this turns into absolute chaos like in this town. Now the LSD crazed satanic hippies are cannibalistic and animal-like and are just wreaking a whole other kind of havoc that this kid did not anticipate. And like, just to put it simply, I think this film is like a lot of fun. It is incredibly 70s. Like the vibes of the 70s are like through the roof, and especially with like 70s exploitation, where it's one of those films where you're like kind of like, damn, this is pretty crazy for its time. It's, you know, pushing the boundaries and limits of the 70s. And I feel like a lot of those like early films like that in the horror genre, the exploitation, etc. from the 70s, I always have a really good time with. There is no blueprint or anything to, you know, go off of. They're just doing some crazy shit that at the time was so new, and I feel like it still feels fresh when I watch it today. And then not to mention, there's just so much like blood and gore in this film. All right, my number 6 spot is going to a film that I've seen get like a lot of like, you know, talk, buzz, and recognition around recently, which I'm really glad it has because it kind of triggered me to bump it up higher on my to watch list. And like, for example, like I've seen like YouTubers like Mr. Gigi and stuff like that talk about it. And that movie is Hardcore, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5. And this film is leaning more in like the drama, thriller, like mystery type vibe, but I just really had a good time with it, and it is a film that I would say is truly thrilling. And Hardcore follows this like conservative, like older businessman whose teenage daughter either like goes missing or runs away regardless. And his friend, like in like the craziest way ever, it's just like, hey dude, you want to see like a porn? Without even telling him what he's about to see, but he shows him a porn that shows his like teenage daughter being like railed by 2 dudes. This man now is like in the search of his daughter, and he's going through like the world of like the seedy underground like adult industry in like the 70s, hopes of trying to find her and bring her home. However, he ends up having like, he becomes like a duo with this woman who is involved in like the adult industry, and she knows what's up and she helps him. They are like a super like unlikely duo, but like this journey and like friendship we see kind of blossom amongst them is really fun and entertaining. And I'd say like the thing about Hardcore is that it really is like a true thriller, and I felt this like story and like mystery to be like truly captivating, where I'm kind of like, you know, at the edge of my seat waiting to see, you know, if we find her and he's able to bring her home fine. And we do get some humor in this film as like, you know, our, you know, protagonist is just such a fish out of water. Obviously is super uncomfortable with this world that he's kind of propelled into, because he's willing to do whatever it takes to find his daughter, with like this depiction of like this conservative like businessman being like, you know, in this like seedy underground adult world with like porn theaters, porn shoots. In addition, like our protagonist is not perfect. He's an asshole, honestly. And like that's kind of where we get like, you know, pretty grounded in reality. And also we get like a lot of sort of, this is like the thing that is kind of like my main critique is like due to this, some of our conclusions or like final wrap-ups feel a little like incomplete or like underwhelming. But it does keep us, you know, within reality. And like, although we do have some more lighthearted moments with like, you know, our unlikely duo bonding, or like, you know, this dude who just has no idea what this world is like, you know, suddenly being in like a strip club or whatever it might be, or like on a porn set, we still never lose sight of all these horrifying possibilities and like desperation that our main character has to find this teen. And I feel like in ways like, you know, like the fear factor gets like bumped up often, like because we start getting to like talk of like, you know, potential like snuff films and stuff like that. And I feel like no matter what like the tone or the vibe of the current scene is, that's kind of like the overlooming like gray cloud over this world. And I just thought this was really well done, and it is a thriller that will have you at like the edge of your seat. All right, my number 5 spot goes to a movie that I'm honestly really amazed I haven't seen before, because this is like the epitome of an Ellie movie. If you are a weird bitch and have not seen this yet, jot this down. Watch Freeway. I give it 4.5 out of 5. This movie is awesome. It's definitely a movie for the weird bitches. It's like, if you like directors like Greg Araki, Todd Solondz, Harmony Korine, John Waters, etc., etc. The movie Spun. I'd say this is like the movie for you. It really has that vibe. This is like a true, like, at the edge of your seat type thriller. It is a retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. However, our Little Red Riding Hood is a like white trash, like trailer park princess teen, and our big bad wolf is a pedophile serial killer. Which I know that sounds absolutely nutty, but it's so good, and we get really great performances from our cast. It stars Kiefer Sutherland and Reese Witherspoon that absolutely bring it. This is just one of those movies that really keeps you at the edge of your seat, and you are absolutely rooting for our trailer park princess here. Like, we want her to come out on top. We don't want her to get, like, you know, killed by this dude. And this is one of those movies that's super, like, you know, delightfully dark. Like, it is truly disturbing, and like, we get some really fucked up, like, stuff that happens here. However, it remains so hilarious and also so thrilling. Like, it just really captures, like, that right vibe of this, like, really dark, disturbing subject matter, and also being really, really funny. And this will really captivate you and keep you at the edge of your seat. And I could not recommend this enough. Like, this is one of those movies, like, I just became instantly in love with and obsessed with. And now my number 4 spot. This is like kind of an unlikely movie for me, but I watched The Holdovers this year. I know this only came out in 2023, but I watched it for the first time this year. You know, it's not often that I really stray that far away from horror, or like a thriller genre, or like a disturbing film, but I gave this one a chance. The Holdovers, I feel like I shouldn't spend too much time on this, because I feel like I'm like the one person who hadn't seen it. It takes place in the 70s. It's like this, like, all boys, like, sort of like boarding school, and it has these kids who don't get to go home for Christmas. Like, their families, like, weren't available, or like whatever it may be, and they have to stay at the school, and they are, you know, being watched over by, like, this old crotchety teacher that nobody likes. It's one of those stories that is really heartwarming, but also absolutely heartbreaking. I loved it for that. Like, this movie is just one of those ones that will really hit you in here, you know. And something I really do love about The Holdovers is that it is a throwback film, yes, in the sense that it is supposed to be, you know, in the 70s and stuff like that, but it's not a throwback film only due to a time it's supposed to be taking place during, but it is a throwback in the sense that, like, the vibe, the cinematography, the humor, and, like, I don't know how to explain this, but if you know, you know, like, it felt just like our other Christmas classics we know and love. It doesn't do, like, the modern cinematography where every shot is, like, of people talking like this, you know? And, like, the storytelling is just really, like, competent and great. The performances are absolutely, like, great. And our characters are all complex and have a lot of depth. And they really do have their own story. And we're able to really understand and know them, and, like, understand the dynamics that lie between all of them. It's one of those films where you feel like you could spend more time with the characters. Like, you're not conscious of its runtime whatsoever. And it's a very hilarious film. It's also absolutely depressing and very grounded in reality. The Holdovers has the opportunity to do a Hallmark everything is good and happy thing numerous times throughout the film, but it still stays very true to its own voice and tone by staying grounded in reality, even if that means that it doesn't have the most palatable things occur, because it isn't always happy. It's real, and sad things happen to what feels like real people, right? It entirely has its own unique voice and tone that it just stays true to, and entirely grounded to the whole time. And this is one of those films I can see myself watching each Christmas over and over again. And I'm really happy I gave it the chance I did. Okay, and my number 3 spot goes to The Swimmer. I give this a 4.5 out of 5. The Swimmer is absolutely a film for the weird bitches in the back. Like, 100%. This is like a surreal, nightmarish hellscape. And I know that sounds really absurd because the plot doesn't sound like much, but it's something that, it's one of those films where I can't really speak that in depth or like say a lot about the plot without really kind of spoiling it or revealing what makes it so special in ways. But like, just trust me on this one. The Swimmer follows a man who realizes he can go home from his friend's house by swimming across every pool in the town through the backyards of the suburb. But like, he does this in like a very entitled manner. With each swim he takes, the story grows more dreadful as he is confronted with each failure he's endured in his life, from like romance, like economics. And as he reflects on all of his shortcomings, failures, and, you know, ways he's been less than great or ideal for his own life, everybody around him is moving forward without him, if that makes sense. I simply thought this film was like brilliant. Like, I became like instantly obsessed. And this is why I'd say, like, if you do enjoy like a bleak surreal film, like, definitely watch it. And I would say like this one is like really just so like well crafted. And like, if I'm being real, if you're watching this channel right now, this is a film for you. Like, let's be so for real. Like, if you like the movies I talk about or have like a similar taste to me, like, you're going to absolutely fall in love with this one. And like, this is one that is like a little bit hard to digest, I would say, in ways, because it is so fucking weird. But that is what's great about it. And it's one of those movies that I already know with each watch, I'm going to get something more from it each time. Okay, and my number 2 is Primal Rage, which I gave a 4. Whoa. But this is a film that, like, I'm kind of amazed I just don't hear more about. Like, I don't hear this ever come up in conversation. And I'm especially surprised considering I know people are, like, kind of, like, freaks about Vinegar Syndrome releases. And, like, this has a Vinegar Syndrome release and like a fancy one, and I still don't hear anything about it. But holy shit, like, I am excited to just be putting this on like my very small audience's radar. If you haven't seen this, please watch it. It's so good. Primal Rage follows this like college journalist who's trying to like break like the big story to show like how fucked up all this experimentation in the lab is. They're like he's basically like, dude, they're like fucking like torturing baboons. What the fuck? So he goes and he breaks into like the college lab and is trying to like, you know, take pictures of this, but like the flash on his camera makes the baboons go absolutely nuts, and they, you know, break out of their cages, and unknown to him that the folks who have been experimenting on them, they accidentally, while trying to like restore like dead brain matter or like dead brain tissue, infected these baboons with the rage virus, and one of the baboons bites him. And then this is the start of like all of this chaos with this like zombie like infection like spreading like on campus. And we have his friend and a love interest here to try to stop it and like, you know, fix what has happened. And my thing about Primal Rage, this is just one of those movies that I think is really well rounded in like all regards. Like, we have a really competent storytelling. The characters are incredibly lovable. Like, our main dude, the journalist who gets infected, like, you get really sad once he gets infected because it's like, damn, this guy's sick. They really do a really good job of making these characters real and likable. It has really great humor, but then also does a really great job at being scary and truly like terrifying and intense. And not to mention, of course, there's a lot of kills, and best of all, it's centered around a Halloween party. So this is a great October watch. I watched it during October. I would say this is a must watch, and I would absolutely recommend. This is just one of those ones, like I said, it's very well rounded, it's competent in all regards, and it's just like one of those movies where like I don't really have anything bad to say about it, which is great. And now I just have a few honorable mentions, like things that were also favorites slash new discoveries, but like not necessarily were things I would want to count on the list for the reason like maybe they are not like true narrative films or like more of like a video, but technically it's on Letterboxd and it's technically kind of a movie, like those kind of weird gray area things. And first one I want to talk about is Garbage. I say this in like the most positive and best way possible, but it's a Jackass clone. But the thing is, I love Jackass. I love the CKY. All that whole like era. That's something I really am obsessed with. Horror has my heart like on like, you know, a grasp like this, but all of that is second to it. Like that's like my mistress, you know? The thing about Garbage is that I've seen a lot of Jackass clones and like stuff that like, you know, is trying to replicate what the greats already did, but they never really feel akin. They just fall short, where I'm kind of like always feeling like I'd wish I was watching Jackass instead. Even if I have seen it 100 times, it still hits harder, and what these dudes did, you know, 20, 30 years ago is still way fucking cooler than what like these new Jacks are doing today. But I don't feel that way about Garbage. Like Garbage is really in its own league, and it's on par with the originals, which I love. And we got a lot of like, you know, gross out funny stuff. We got the stunts, and we also have like, you know, skateboarding, like extreme sports. The thing that makes it unique is that it is this like, you know, Jackass style film, but it also has this like mixtape element that I think makes it really fun and unique. My only main gripe with it is that I kind of wish that like, we had like a finale, but like also at the same time, who cares? I had a great time. I really recommend. And the shout out to the dudes who made it. They saw that I rated it really high on Letterboxd and sent me a copy, which I love. Like, I don't know, I can't recommend enough. If you like are into that kind of stuff and would like more content of it, definitely check out Garbage, check out Kobe Sucks. Like, they're putting the work, they're doing some cool shit. And my next honorable mention goes towards Sex House, which is a weird one. So it is technically a web series. Each episode is technically like 10 minutes, but if you play them all in order, it is a, you know, 70-minute film or so, if that's how you kind of want to interpret it. This is one that I am like, this is like a hidden gem for sure. So The Onion in the early 2000s, they made this web series that is like a parody of reality TV. It follows like, you know, all these young sexy singles are supposed to go to the sex house. They're gonna stay here and they're like obviously gonna fuck. Very, very much reality TV. Like, it's a satire of all that. It's just super hilarious and over the top. But then it takes this really weird, surreal, like absurdist, like horror turn, and I am obsessed. I don't really want to say much more about it just because I don't want to spoil it, and I thought it was something that was pretty special for me. If that's something that you like or like are interested in, the whole series is on YouTube. And then my last honorable mention goes to The Price Master, which, dude, I don't even know. This like appears to be like either like some like, I can't decide if I think it was like some IRL trolling that occurred in like the early like 2000s, or if it's like some sort of like performance art piece about like capitalism. But regardless, it's phenomenal. Like, if you have like a fucking stupid sense of humor, you'll love it. It's a garage sale is the setup, and at the garage sale there is this very strangely like adorned figure who is the Price Master, and simply people are going and asking him the price of this random fucking junk, because let's be real, all like yard sales are junk. He sets the price and he has spoken. Like, we cannot barter or negotiate with him, or he increases the price and the prices will be like absolutely absurd. Like, they'll bring some fucking junk to him and then he'll go, it is $400 billion. And these people are really like sit on like trying to argue and say that they absolutely need this shit, but it's absolute garbage, which I don't know. It's really good. And my last one, my number one spot, which I won't spend that much time talking about for the very reason, again, it's one of those films, I'm just the only person who hadn't seen it. And I don't know how or why, because it is definitely weird bitch cinema and also just such an Ellie movie. And that is Possession from 1981. Of course, fucking 5 out of 5. This is for the BPD girlies for sure too. And dude, I don't even know. I am really impressed also with everyone out in the world for never spoiling this film for me, because it's something that you really think is one thing, but it is not. And just watching this unfold is great. I just feel like in Possession, I'll give you a brief synopsis as if anybody needs it. It's about more or less a couple falling out of love and what that looks like. And we really get to see like amazing performances from everybody involved with all these like intense emotions. And you know, it really does, like I said, tell the story of how painful it is to fall out of love and what that looks like and everything that comes with it. But it is a horror film, and it's one of those films that I'd say has true real horror being depicted, but then also the horror of growing apart and like no longer being satisfied with the person you're with and no longer wanting to live this life that you've been living and being done with it. So it's the horror of domestic bliss or unbliss, right? And I just thought this was great. This is, again, I watched it January 1st, 2024, the first film I watched, and I ended up rewatching it too. It is a film that I think I will continue to keep going back to, just because I was just so impressed with like everything. And not to mention, like, again, the performances are like absolutely amazing. Isabel, whatever her last name is, I don't know how to say it. She is just so mad in this and like absolutely wild and like uncontrollable in ways that feel so real and like raw. And it's truly just like amazing. I would say, like, you know, it's a beautiful film. Like, the cinematography is amazing, the shots are amazing, the way it looks and the way it feels, and you have like this like feeling of like dread. If you somehow are a buster like me and have not seen Possession, just say fuck it and put it on. I just thought this was phenomenal, and I was amazed that it took me this long. And again, I know I'm probably the minority of people who hadn't seen it, who, you know, would be here on my channel, but holy shit, that is a fucking great movie. All right, those were my, 10 plus honorable mentions, favorite discoveries of the year. Like I said, I will be, once a few more things come out, I'm hoping about February, I'll upload my actual 2024 ranked. I think I'm gonna break it up into 2 videos, like the worst half and the better half of the year. If you had any really amazing discoveries, first time watches of things that you watched this year that you want to share, please comment below. Anyways, it's kind of nice to be back. It was fun to make a video. I haven't been here for a while, and I guess I missed it a little bit more than I thought. So yeah. Anyways, please like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, I'm out. Peace.